Did you know Variety, the children's charity, is the entertainment charity started by a group of show business people who found an abandoned baby in a theatre way back in 1928. These kind-hearted performers raised so much money to help the lost child that they began helping other children, and Variety, the children's charity, was born. Read the full story and support the entertainers charity that supports kids in need today. Visit variety.org.au. You're listening to the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast with me, Maury Morgan.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next comedian.
Shouldn't drink on an empty head, you know that, don't you?
That is the shittiest heckle I have ever heard in my life.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
What's a bucket list?
You have dangerously underprepared yourself for the shit that is about to get real.
Not many teenagers know what they want to be in life, and if they do, they most certainly don't declare to the world that they want to be a stand-up comedian. But to the horror of his high school career's counsellor, that's exactly what Ben McCarthy did. With a little bit of serendipity and a single focus to get up on stage, Ben, now aged 21, has already performed at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival and completed a comedy tour of Australia. In this School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast episode, you'll learn why Ben embraces bombing on stage, how he writes new material, and how random chances turned into an Australian-wide tour. His story, while very fresh, is inspirational. And if you'd like to learn stand-up comedy or polish your set and build a tight 5 minutes, the School of Hard Knock Knocks is running 2 courses in September. Geelong from the 10th to the 14th of September, with guest comedian Doug Chappell, and South Yarra from the 24th to the 28th of September with guest comedian Glenn Nicholas. Visit www.schoolofhardknockknocks.com and select public courses for more information. And now here he is, Ben McCarthy. Ben. G'day, Ben. How you doing?
Maury, how are you, mate? I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good, Ben. Good. It's Friday. Exciting times.
It is lovely to have Friday.
Yeah.
Isn't it good?
You were about to say it's
Friday?
lovely. It's a lovely Friday, but it's not a lovely Friday here in Melbourne, is it?
No, it is.
It's windy and miserable. But, yeah, give it 5 minutes and could be beautiful.
Give it 5 minutes, we'll be teeing off.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Ben, cheers, mate. Thanks for your time. In this podcast, the people that listen to this podcast are people who are setting out in the world of stand-up comedy. They're newbies. Maybe they're just doing open mics. Some of them maybe have never done any form of stand-up comedy and they're looking at branching out, changing careers, or maybe they've just finished school and this is the first career. So the reason I was interested in your particular story is that you're a young comedian and you've seemed to have really, you have a lot of gusto, a lot of grit and a lot of persistence that I noticed early on. Because I believe you're 21, is that right?
I am 21, yes. Recently 21.
21 years old. I remember when I was 21, I certainly wasn't doing what you are doing, which is touring and having your own shows, that's for sure. So that's the reason I've interviewed you. Obviously, you don't have the years that, say, Greg Fleet does or Steve Hughes that we've interviewed before.
Oh, no.
No,
Not at all.
But that's not the reason I'm interviewing you. I want to know more about what's been happening in your life as a relatively new comedian in comparison to the other people I just mentioned. Because people who are just starting out need to know that it's reachable, that what you've done to date is achievable, because they look at Greg Fleet and Steve Hughes and Dave O'Neill and go, oh God, 25 years in comedy or more, I'm never going to get there. But someone that, like yourself, makes the dream of becoming a stand-up comedian just that little bit more tangible and realistic. So, cheers.
Yeah, well, that's it. I sort of, it was just, I've been very fortunate with how everything's played out for me, and I've put a lot of hard work into a short amount of time, because I haven't been in the industry as long as those guys who have been at it for 20 plus years and things like that. So I've been knuckling down, getting everything, getting it all right for myself, and just chasing the dream and making that dream to reality.
Yeah, well, that's great. I want to go back into that dream, and I believe that dream started as early as 12. It might have even started earlier than that, but I heard a story where you, most 12-year-olds, they bug their parents for a BMX bike or a computer game or the latest shoes, for example, but you bugged your parents to go and see a show at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival as a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It was 2008. I was in grade 6 at the time. I was 12 years old, and I remember.
Yeah.
I was watching all the galas and things coming up on TV that always pop up before the festival starts and everything. And I remember watching it and just I don't know, it really caught my attention, and it really made me just like stand-up comedy so much. And I was like, Mum, can we go to that? It says Melbourne, let's go. And she's like, no, we've got things on, so we're not gonna be able to go. And remember my auntie came down at the time because she lives in Sydney. And I was like, oh, we need to go to this. Look how good this looks. And she's like, well, I'll take it. And it was Melbourne Town Hall. So my auntie took me to the Comedy Festival Gala 2008. And I just, from that moment on, just that night, watching, they come out onto the stage and under the lights and everyone's laughing and having a great time. I'm like, that's it. That's where I want to be. I want to be up there. I want to be doing what they're doing.
Wow. Was your career counsellor in high school prepared for the conversations that you would have had with that person? What do you want to be, Ben?
I still remember that, actually. I reckon it was probably about, I remember going to a show that year. I was probably when I was about 15. I'd just come from a comedy show, and I'm chatting to the careers advisor, and we're just having a chat because he's like, oh, you're good in the workshop with your hands and things, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be on stage. I'm going to be on stage when I'm done here. I'm going to be performing stand-up comedy. And he looked at me. He's like, that's a good one. Here everyone's going to be on stage. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be on stage. Right. So he was very persistent for me to maybe not look and invest all my time into that. But I was like, I'm going straight there.
There you go. And you have, and we'll talk about it a little bit more about that in a moment. But that's, I think we've all been there. Anyone who has ever gone to high school knows that the career advisor has probably got the worst point of view because they're a career advisor in the high school.
Right.
I mean, that's what they became. So how?
Yeah.
Exactly. So how on earth can they give any advice at all? Oh well, there we go. So there you were. So you, 12 years old, you decided you want to become a stand-up comedian. Let's go back then to obviously having a dream and living the dream are two separate things. When was your first open mic? I assume you did an open mic. You didn't just start your own tour of Australia. And
No, not at all. Not with the part-time job you have when you're 15, 16. It's definitely not enough to get you on tour. I remember I was 17 and it was school holiday time, and during the school holidays, my friend's dad, he owned a pub. Yep. And he's like, do you want to come help out a few nights, give you some cash, holidays? I'm like, yeah, sounds great. And he's like, well, we're having open mic night out here tonight. He goes, with a bunch of variety acts coming in. Your job is just to take the names and, set the chairs, all that sort of stuff, right?
Yep.
And I remember being backstage chatting to the MC who was a comedian, and for the life of me, I cannot remember his name.
No.
And I remember he's like, oh, do you do stand-up comedy? And I was like, no, I love it, though. This is so awesome. He's like, do you have any jokes? I said, oh, I've written a couple. He's like, tell me a couple of jokes. And I told him, and he lost his mind laughing, and he goes, mate, he goes, get on stage and do that now.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you're joking. I can't get up there. And he goes, nah, get up there. What have you got to lose? People know you're here. They'll either think it's just, funny, you're jumping up, having a go, or it could be the best thing you do. And looked out in the crowd. It wasn't overly busy because it's a country pub, so it's nothing too major. And I was like, you know what do I have to lose? So I jumped up, and it worked out really well. And this guy approached me after the night was done, and he goes, mate, I've got a place down in the city, and we're going to run a comedy night soon. If you're keen to give it another crack, come on down.
Yeah. Did he know you were 15 years old?
No, because
you weren't going to drive there, obviously.
No, that was the thing, because I'm quite tall, so people assumed I was always older. So, but I didn't tell him anything. I said, yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, right.
And then it wasn't until I got there I thought, this is actually. This is real. Like, I'm not watching TV. I'm not in the local country pub.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is like, I'm gonna try me all out there. And then being out there, I thought, this is fantastic.
And was that a paid gig? That particular gig?
No. This was another just free booking night, free comedy night. So then after that,
Because most open micers get paid with beer, so how did a 15-year-old get paid?
well, I was already working in the first pub, so I was getting paid regardless.
Yeah. So in the second one, did you get a drinks voucher that was valid for 5 years or something?
Yeah, you got a couple of drink cards or something, and I just said, oh, no, I'm taking it easy. I'll have a lemonade or something. But then after that, I was a bit on and off for a couple of years, and then I looked up open mic rooms Melbourne, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to break onto the Melbourne scene now. I'm going to break onto the Melbourne scene. And then I think my first gig on the Melbourne scene was at the Exford, the Exford Hotel.
Yeah, good.
And I bombed miserably that night. I still remember that night.
Got to happen.
And then I thought, just nothing landed. Nothing at all. Like the first joke landed, and then after that it seemed like a very long 5 minutes.
Mm.
And then I just thought, you know what, this is good, because now I can improve. I can focus some time, and I'm just going to come back bigger and better.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's a good attitude.
Pushing from there.
That's good. That's great attitude.
One bad gig can't get you down.
Yeah.
Every comic out there, every comic I've met, you know, none of their gigs have been 10 out of 10 every night.
No. Okay, so when was so moving a couple of, are we talking weeks, months, years between the free open mics and the paid?
Years. 2 and a bit years.
2 and a bit years. Great. Tell us about that experience.
And so it was my local primary school was having a night where it was going to be a bit of everything. They were going to put on a dinner, and they were going to put on a show and everything like that. And they're like, well, we heard you've been doing stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that way we can put you on the bill, say, you know, he's a local area, he's a local comic. That way it seems like we've got a bit of stuff going on here, because where I lived, the last famous person was Ned Kelly, so it's been a while. So they're like, jump on the lineup. And I thought, yeah, that'd be great. And they're like, yeah, we'll pay you for it. And
yep.
The only real one I remember on the card was it was headlined by Bob Franklin, who I'd seen do comedy before, and I was like, this is unreal. You know, I'm paid to perform alongside Bob Franklin. How good is this? Just that was the first paid gig, was at a local primary school.
That's fantastic. So you were now, I'm thinking 17, 18 at that point in time. 19. No, hit 19. Oh, fantastic. So you were 19 at that time. Excellent. You, skyrocketed. 2.5 years. That's not a bad run. And obviously persistence and grit to get that far.
Yeah, that was it.
So you've gone from... Now, let's just recap for the audience, because it's been bloody fast. You're 12 years old. You go and see the gala in Melbourne. Yep. You tell your career counsellor at the age of 15 that you're going to be a stand-up comedian. He's like, oh, that's never going to go anywhere. You then get a gig. Then you start doing open mics, and you get your first open mic with a mate's dad at you're 15, and you're
17.
You're 17 years old. How many laws you're breaking at the time? Who knows? But that's not important. Then you get an offer down, down at another pub. Sorry, and a week later, is that right?
Yeah.
Because this guy because he thinks that you're 18 and he can pay you off with beer. Again, more laws broken, but that's cool again. And then 2.5 years later, or roughly 2 years later, you're 19. You got your first paid gig, and you're 19. Now you're 21 now. So
time's flew. Man, where did it all go?
Time has flown, and then you did this year. You did 8 shows at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. Now, were you 21 at that time, at the beginning of the year, or still 20?
20. My birthday's in June, so I was 20 at the time.
So you were 20. So, oh my God. So, again, it's a whirlwind career advancement.
Crazy.
So tell us, how do you go from going, I'm getting paid for my work now, this is good, I've got obviously 45 minutes of material, and then what makes you wake up one morning and go, you know what, I'm going to put on a show at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival?
It was probably just before, it was about last year, I actually did a full-length set for the first time, so a full proper 45, 50 minutes. And it felt a little bit uneasy, because, you know, I was used to doing the 5 or the 10 minute in the club, and now they're like, do a 40 or a 50. So it was a little bit sketchy and a bit all over the place, but I thought, you know, this is something I can really improve on. How can I set myself a deadline to perfect it? And then I saw the comfortable opens up, so I thought, I'll put my registration in. That way I've got until this time next year to have the show, like March next year, to have the show running properly, running full, getting all the material ready, getting the show ready, putting in as much stage time as I can, making sure that I could have a solid show. And it was pretty much setting the deadline, so that way I knew I had to work.
Yep. That's good. And the show was called Nevermind. Is that right?
Yeah, never mind. Yeah.
And what does that mean to anyone who didn't go to the show?
Well, firstly, for one night I had confusion. People thought it was a Nirvana tribute show, so it was nothing to do with Nirvana.
No.
It was an inside joke. It was an inside joke I had with my friend. It was she asked me what the show was called, and I went to tell her, and she got distracted. So I was like, "Oh, never mind." Yeah. And that kept happening to me. And she goes, "What's the show called?" And I went, "Never mind."
Yeah.
And just ran off an inside joke I had with a friend.
There you go. Oh, you had to have you either go for puns like Will Anderson has critically Will, because he's obviously got a back problem and he uses that reference, and then there's a pun there. There you go. So that's how you came up with your name. Yeah. Now, tell us a little bit about the process of signing up, as you described, to the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, the registration. For those people who maybe who are listening to this podcast and have done, they're on their 200th open mic, for example, and they're going, this year, rather 2018, next year, I'm going to do my own show. Tell us a bit about what it takes, what you have to do.
Well, first, before I even register my show, I want to make sure I've got a venue. I want to make sure I've got the venue. I want to suss it all out and make sure that's all good to go. That way they go, yep, you're going to do your show here. That way I can register it, have the name, and then sign up, pay the money for like your fee to register, and then just start putting it all together, getting your poster ready, getting your flyers and things ready. So it's all go from the booking first, and then you go to your promo.
And what type of fee are we looking for registration?
Melbourne Comedy Festival, I think it was $520, I think, was to just register the show, and then you got to put some hire in for the venue.
Yep. And it's the same for someone like yourself who's new, first time. It's $500, as it is for, say, someone like Will Anderson, who's a famous name, and obviously he's going to make back that money easily.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, he's already got the name. He's already got the followers. He's going to make all the money plus a massive profit. So
yep.
But what I looked into it as well is I sort of stuffed out the business side of things, where to market, where more people are paying attention to, how it's working these days. Like social media is popular as ever, so like everyone's on social media, so everyone sees social media. And then a lot of collaborating with the venue. So the venue where I played at on Friday night ran vaudeville variety night. So what I did was I did all the comics that played there did a 5-minute stand-up set. You plug your show. We went and hand out flyers to people in the venue. Yeah. And I did a lot of pop-ups everywhere else, and went a bit further away from town as well to pop up and fly the show as well. So just a lot of marketing goes into it as well. So you got to get your name out there. You got to give people, I suppose, a taste, like a tease for the 5-10 minutes. So they'll be like, oh, that was really good. What more does he have to offer? Where's his show? Where's he playing at?
Yeah, good. Well, that's interesting. Glad you could share that. Obviously, when people go from open mic to getting a few paid gigs, the next big notch on the belt, or the glass ceiling for some, is the festival, whether it be Melbourne or Adelaide or another smaller festival.
That's it. You go from those sort of stages, and then you got all material cut and polished, so you got to bring that to the stage now. Yeah,
very, very good. And you did 8 shows, is that right?
Yeah, I did 8 gigs. Yeah, I did Wednesday to Saturday, and then Wednesday to Saturday the week after.
Excellent. And was there one particular day that stood out for good or bad reasons?
Yeah, it was funny enough. It was the last show actually. The very last night, I sold out my last couple of nights.
Yeah, good.
Which was really good. That gave me a bit of a boost. I'm like, it's going to be a packed room. It's going to be great.
Yep.
But it was the last night was the one that really stood out to me, because every single joke landed. The show ran so smoothly. Crowd loved it. A lot of good interaction, and everything was going great. So it was just good to end the festival on such a high note.
Oh, that's great. Great news. Oh, well, that's good. And that was at Speakeasy HQ?
Speakeasy HQ and the Vault Theatre.
Oh, very good. Excellent. Well, let's go back a little bit, because that's exciting. And let's go back into the pre-MICF, the pre-Melbourne International Comedy Festival, and your writing material. You need 45 minutes. Obviously, you need 45 minutes with roughly a joke every 12 to 15 seconds. So that's a lot of jokes to pack in. What do you do? Do you have a method, Ben, for writing comedy? Where does it come from?
My method's really, really strange to some people, because if someone told me to sit down and write jokes, it'd be the last thing I'd want to do.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if it's like a ADD kind of thing or something, but when someone, they go, just sit down and write some comedy, I'm like, I can't do that. I can't just sit and write a joke.
Yep.
I need to be walking around or watching something. And once my brain will click and make a joke out of something, I'll keep flowing. So like, once I get a little bit of a push, I want to keep going. I want to keep writing. I want to find more material. I want to do it all. And I'll just start taking some notes, write a couple of things down, think, where can I go from with this? Where's this road going to take me? Where is this joke going to take me? Where's the punchline going to be? And there's going to be a story. It's going to be a quick one-liner.
Yep.
What am I going to do?
And where do you find you get onto a story, for example, and maybe has a slight angle that's funny, but how do you actually create a joke from zero?
You just have to pay attention to something, pretty much. You just need to look at something and just think, like, how is this going to be funny? How can I make this funny? But mainly, how can I make this relatable, and how can I make people understand this and understand that it's funny?
Mm.
Like, for example, in front of me right now, I just saw a car reverse out of a car park. So I'm trying to think, what can I do with that, or how can I make that funny?
And do you have any particular techniques for looking at that car reversing in a comical way?
Yeah, you just think of every single possibility that can happen, or any time that has happened with me or anyone involved, and what kind of scenario can we make out of this? What can people find funny out of this? And you just run over a lot of ideas. That's sort of like a brainstorming part. And then I come to the brainstorm, take every idea into a different section, and just think, where does this go? I think, maybe that part doesn't work. Well, let's get rid of that. Let's try and focus this one. Oh, that worked really well. Let's try it out.
Yep. And when you say it worked really well, you worked really well in your head, or you actually tested out on people?
Both. So I'll think of it in my head, and I think, I find that funny, but is the audience going to find it funny? If the audience can find it funny, then I can roll with it.
Yep. Oh, very good. Very good. You've done your 45-minute Melbourne International Comedy Festival. You did 8 shows. The final show was fantastic. Every joke landed, as you said. And then you said, shit, I'm 21 years old. What's next? Actually, you were 20 years old. I go back. You were 20 years old. What am I going to do when I'm 21? And you said, I'm going to go on tour.
Yeah, pretty much.
And what is going through your head at this point where you go, line it up?
The thing is that the tour, it was sort of, once festival finished, and I did a couple pop-up gigs, and like once the festival was all over, I thought, where am I going from here? What's the next step? Where is Ben McCarthy, stand-up comedian, heading next?
Yep.
I remember getting a phone call from a guy in Adelaide. His name was Jimmy Lyons, and he goes, hey, I run a theatre in Adelaide. I had a friend of mine catch your festival show. Yep. And he said it was so, so funny. And I'll take his word for it. And I've seen a bit of your stuff. Would you bring your show to Adelaide? And in my mind, I was thinking Adelaide Fringe. I was like, he's going to reserve a spot for me. It's quite early. Adelaide Fringe only pretty much just finished.
Yep.
Like, no, we'd like to bring it to up here as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then I was like, let's work this out. And as we're working out dates, I got a call from a woman in Perth who said, I run a hotel, like a pub sort of thing, and we have a really good venue space upstairs.
Yep.
Would you be interested in coming over and doing some comedy? And I thought, well, hang on, I've had a couple people ask me, maybe it's just a couple people saw in the festival. And then I had a third person ring me and say, hey, we've got a hall. We'd love to have your show come down here. And I thought, you know what, let's make this into something else. Let's get onto some more contacts. Let's talk to some more people, and let's get this show on the road. If it's getting interstate, people knowing who I am interstate, well, go interstate. Let's do this. And then sort of just planned it out, booked the venues, and spoke to a lot of other people. Said, hey, look, can I hire your venue and run my show? They're like, yep, let's do it. And then just found everything in all those areas. And I thought, let's get the show on the road.
Fantastic. Yeah, and Adelaide, so you're based in Melbourne, but then Adelaide, Perth, and Northern Territory?
I started in Perth.
Okay.
I went from Perth to Adelaide, then went over to Sydney, and went to... so I went from Perth to Sydney to Adelaide to the NT to Tassie. So I was jumping all over the place.
You were?
That was just the booking.
You thought, right. You think, what's the furthest place I can perform this show next week? Right. Just look at a map. Yeah. Right. Oh, that's amazing.
Instead of the airport, the flight time will be 1 hour. I thought, geez, that's a quick flight. What's this? I wasn't used to traveling 4 or 5 hours at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, good you flew and didn't drive. That would literally take you days, wouldn't it?
Oh, I would probably still be driving there, I think.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. So, look, I think what's coming through this interview is that you're incredibly confident. You know, that 12-year-old was confident, that 15-year-old, that 17-year-old, that 19-year-old, that 20-year-old, and now that 21-year-old, very confident.
The confidence is what gets me that kick up the stairs to get on stage, pretty much. You know, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to knock this gig out of the park tonight. I'm going to smash this gig out of the park. And you know, sometimes if the gig doesn't go well, I think, you know what, if that's a learning curve, let's bring it back next time. You know, tomorrow night or the night after. Let's bring this gig home. Let's improve where it went wrong. Where it went wrong? Okay, this joke didn't work. Well, let's try something different. And just the confidence that sort of gives me the energy that I can take onto the stage and give off the impression of the audience that I am a confident performer. I am a confident comedian. I'm confident in my craft, and I'm confident enough to give it to you. So hopefully you guys like it.
Do you have any techniques, or is this just a natural confidence that exudes from your body?
I know it sounds a bit maybe cliche, but before I go on stage, I just like to relax, like to just clear my mind, and you know, obviously not clear it completely because I've got to remember the joke on stage. So I just like to just be in a state of mind where I think, yep, I'm all good. Yep. I know there's a lot of people out there, but if I win them early, it's going to be awesome. I'm gonna absolutely win this. And it was like when I emceed the Geelong Comedy Showcase in June, and there was a crowd of a bit over 300 in there in the theatre, and the first joke I told just went really, really well. I'm like, look, I've got 300 people on my side right now who want more. And it gives you that lift up, and you think, yep, this is my night. This is going to go so well.
And so that's what you're doing at the moment, at the time, in real time, as you're standing up on stage with the microphone. Is there anything that you do 5 minutes before you step up onto the stage? I
like to just walk around. I can't sit. I've got to be up and moving. I've got to be moving around. I generally like to, you know, maybe drink a water or something just before I go on stage, just a little bit, just to cleanse, I suppose. I don't really have any superstitions or anything like that. I just I know what I'm there to do, and I'm going to try my best every night to do it.
All right, good. You don't shadow box or skip rope or talk to the mirror or anything like that?
The last time I shadow boxed, I accidentally punched my opening act, so I'm not doing that anymore.
Right. There you go. All right. Well,
I didn't see him come around the corner and just kind of clipped him on the nose.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so that stopped.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look, I think you've shared a lot of your personal journey, which is thoroughly enjoyable. Is there any advice that you'd give to a comedian who's, as I mentioned earlier, someone who's been doing the open mic circuit, maybe their wheels are spinning a little, they're not getting the traction? Any advice that you can give these people, so that they quickly can start their own Melbourne International Comedy Festival tour or tour around Australia? Yeah,
for sure. Like one bad gig doesn't mean you're a bad comedian. One bad joke doesn't mean you're bad at writing jokes. It's just further motivation to improve what you want to do. And I know it sounds, again, a bit cliche, but just don't give up on it. If this is what you want to do, you can't sit and question it. You can't, by the time you sit and think, oh, is it what I want to do? The moment's passed.
Yep.
If you're sitting around thinking, oh, I don't know, maybe stand up, or should I don't know. By the time, if you have to hesitate, it's not what you want to do.
Yep.
If you want to do it, you'll just go into it and you'll just love it. And it'll be your driving passion, and it'll keep you moving forward. And there will be bad gigs, unfortunately, but that's how the industry is. That's how this business works. No one's perfect. You can even ask your Kevin Hart and your main guys who are absolutely worldwide famous playing to arenas. They've had bad too.
Yep.
It's something more to look back on. Once you become a big full-time stand-up success, you can just look back on those gigs and think, that's what got me here.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you got to go to the open mic, you got to do the hard work, you're going to have to wait around for your turn, but your opportunity comes.
I believe Dave Hughes, I've heard Dave Hughes was on the open mic circuit for many years, as many as 4 years. So, yeah, good advice. Well, Ben, thanks very much for your time. If someone wants to book you in between your tours and your flights and get you into an event to MC or to headline or to be a support act, how do they get in contact with Ben McCarthy? You
can go, the main 3 platforms for me are, you can go to Facebook, Ben McCarthy Comedy. you can go to my Hotmail, which is ben-mccarthy.j@hotmail.com. That's where a lot of the corporate bookings and things come through email, because corporate aren't contacting me through Facebook, of course. Or you can go to my website, which will be up when the tour finishes. This tour ends on Monday, August 28th. So once that's finished, I'll be back on the website, which is benmccarthycomedy.com.au, and I'll be posting all other contact information on there, and there'll be all links and all new videos and photos from this tour. So those are my three main points of contact. Will either be email, my website, or through Facebook and social media.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll make sure that those links are in the show notes on this podcast episode.
Yep. And if you want to see the show later in the year, I am currently in planning stages of doing a country regional tour. So I'll be going out, instead of doing your main cities, I'll be branching out into the out of country areas like I am. Tonight I'm in Rockwood. I'm at the Rockwood Amphitheatre for the next 2 nights, which is we're out near, going towards more Mildura way.
Yep.
So that'll be where I'll be again touring later in the year. I'm going to do all country tours and things. So yeah, doing your out of town places that aren't, a 30-minute train ride from the city that can come in for the show. So that'll be
beautiful.
That'll be kicking off probably around October.
October, good. And I imagine we'll see you in 2018 at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival again. 2018
Melbourne International Comedy Festival, and then Ben McCarthy Nevermind European Tour kicks off in May.
Ooh, I have no doubt about that, given the history of your trajectory. Good. Well, Ben, thanks very much for your time today. Good luck tonight. I'm sure you'll kill it. Yep, and I'll definitely be getting along to one of your shows coming up when they're on down here in Melbourne again.
December 15th in Port Melbourne, mate. I'll have a comp ticket with your name on it for you.
Oh, perfect. That's walking distance from my house. Perfect.
Perfect.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Murray. Hope you have a good day.
Cheers.